Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's XAUUSD webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Sorry for the delay. A few technical issues going along. Okay, tonight's webinar is Forex trading, live market analysis. And just going to give you a heads up of what's coming up from me this week. We do have tomorrow a webinar on order blocks, and it's Introduction to Smart Money Concepts Part 2, 8 p.m. Sydney time. And then on Thursday, we've got more live Forex market review. That will be again at 8 p.m. Sydney time. So that's what's coming up from me this week. So before we get into it, if everybody can read through the disclaimer, if you're on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, but you're more than welcome to watch or join us in the webinar. If you want to chat with me, just join us in the webinar because I cannot see the chat. All right, everybody else, any questions to the chat box or the question and answer box? And as I said, everybody please read through the disclaimer. All right, we'll move along. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at XAUUSD Securities. I'm a full-time Forex trader. I've been trading now for more than 15 years, getting towards 19 years now in the Forex market, and mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there on screen. I was just working how many years I've been mentoring. It's probably more like 15 now, but in any event, it's long enough. So if you want to contact me, my email is there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. And through the week, if you want to follow me, you can connect with us at the website, acy.com, go to the Market News tab, or our YouTube channel, XAUUSD Australia. If you want to connect with me personally, I've got my Linktree page there. It's got all my social media links there. So if you want to connect with me, just head over to my Linktree page, which is Duncan Cooper FX, and you can connect with me there. If you want to get access to the charts that I use in the webinars, just contact Nathan.bray. His email's at the bottom there. They're MT4 charts. And I will put his details in the chat for you. If you want to contact Nathan about anything to do with the webinars, he'll be able to help you out. All right, this is going in the chat. All right, so let's get into tonight's webinar. It's enough housekeeping. All right, I'm just having a few technical issues tonight. Hopefully I don't have to reboot in the middle of the webinar, but we'll see how we go. All right, so the market is a bit, I think, not quite sure which way it's going at the moment. We did have the job figures come out on Friday, just gone. Had quite a large day where we made a fresh low, pairs to the US dollar made a fresh low and up to a high. And it's quite a large day, and we've been trading inside that day ever since. So, and we might just stay within that range because we do have two very important news announcements this week. The US core PPI, CPI data coming out on Thursday, and then Friday we have the US PPI data, core PPI data, all about inflation. All right, so just over the next couple of days, we have next news item will be tomorrow's inflation figures for the Aussie, expecting a drop from 4.9 to 4.4. And then we move into Thursday when we have the US CPI data. So that's the only thing to worry about over the next 24 hours is the Aussie CPI year on year. That's 10:30 a.m. my time. But be aware, we have the US inflation figures coming out as well this week. So that is the thing that's going to be maybe keeping the market a little bit range bound ahead and then exceptionally volatile afterwards, I'm sure. Now, what we have been seeing, let's get to the charts. This is the US dollar. As I was drawing things out last week, that could we put in a higher bottom to maybe confirm that we are getting support at 79% level and monthly support down here. So if you go to the monthly chart, we have the potential of a left shoulder, inverse head, right shoulder maybe forming here. It's a little bit early to tell, of course, but if we do get a high bottom forming on the day chart, that's at least going to add some credence to the idea that we could be forming that pattern. On this monthly chart here, we do have a higher top, so we could be forming here a higher bottom long term for maybe a move up this year. Of course, if we negate 100.708 at some point, then that will be off the cards. But at the moment, that is a clear area to expect support to come in, and support is coming in there. So at the moment, back to daily, looking for some form of a higher bottom to form to start to confirm that, yes, okay, we may be putting in, is this a significant low or is it a minor low? So I think we actually went up to there first before moving down. So can we put in some form of higher bottom to move up? So I'm just monitoring, the general price action on the dollar index. Can it form a higher bottom? And we'll see, if it does, we're going to see lower tops forming on pairs to the US dollar at some point. And the S&P 500 had a very strong day up, but it's moved up yesterday. This is how I drew it in last week, from a lower bottom. On the large scale monthly chart, we're just fractions short of the historical high. And we've had a heavy sell-off to a lower bottom. So I might just get rid of those lines. We've moved to a lower bottom. Are we going to form a lower top? We're around about the 62% level at the moment, or in between the 62 and 79. So this would be a good area to crank down to a lower time frame and look for a reversal today to the downside, because we could be forming a lower top to move down. Of course, the CPI data is going to be the key driver for the stock market, because if the CPI data drops, that's just another nail in the coffin in terms of interest rates maybe getting cut at some point in the year or early in the year, and that may add more fuel to the stock market going up. If CPI picks up, then those that have been rather bullish on the stock market may change their tone, and we might not be able to take out that all-time high. We may see a top coming. So we're just in that time of the markets where I'll be topping out or not. It's obviously a very good time to start to look for a short here, because we're at very historical high levels. But if we are putting in a significant high, this is the time to get short. I don't know if you really want to be a buyer up here. We're almost at the highest point of the stock market. So do you want to be buying there? Probably not. All right, now euro dollar. And what I'm looking at, maybe, the US dollar putting in a bottom. So that moving up. So on the same tone, I'm looking for most of these pairs to the US dollar to be maybe putting in some form of lower top. However, it's worth discussing both sides of the market. I've got a fib drawn here across last month's range. And I did notice this has happened on a number of the pairs to the US dollar. We pulled back 62% of last month's move up. That was what happened on Friday. And that's Friday's low here on the 4-hour chart, Friday's high. As I say, we're in between that range at the moment. We're almost in the middle of it. So I'm not entirely sure which way the market wants to break either way. One of the things that I would be watching, though, is that's Friday's high and that's Friday's low. I would be watching the outskirts of Friday's candle, because we could false break the high or the low this week for sure and get a nice reversal back the opposite way. So 4-hour chart here is showing lower top, higher bottom. So as I say, it's mixed, isn't it? Let's just go to the higher time frame. So that's the whole range of last month. We could, my drawing tool, there's a couple of scenarios that could be going on, and I don't really know which one is in play. That's the move up last month. Pull back to 62. So over the course of the month, we could, you know, come back up like so and put another leg in, put another month up. Or we're simply kind of come up. There's a known level of resistance here that we could fail at. Or there's a very good level up here, which is, that's the monthly high over here. 79% retracement overlaps of the major range. That became a very good focal area for failure at the end of last year. So the question will be, if we do start to see price pick up, do we fail at 110.17 or 110.95? So at the moment, I don't know where it's going, where it's just sitting at the moment. So what I tend to do then is just wait for price to show its hand a bit more. And can it hold or fail at a level that I'm watching? All right, so it's not really at a level that I'm watching at the moment. I would, as we're just saying, look at, we had a very large candle with this very small spinning top. So really, this high up here at 109.97, so it's about 110, or the low down here on the euro dollar at 108.76. Those are my two reference points of failure, the outskirts of price action at the moment. So those are the two levels I'm watching. And we're right in the middle. So I don't like trading in the middle. I like to be trading up from support, down from resistance. So at the moment, it's not that easy going. Just having a look at the 15-minute chart, see what I can see. When we're trending down for the day, it's the most, the most immediate trend is down intraday, but that's yesterday's low. Just basing off yesterday's range, we have a 79% level here at 109.34 and a pivot. So intraday, we may see some support coming in here. For then a move back up, it's worth monitoring that level if you want to have a intraday trade. As I'm looking more at the outskirts at the moment, but that would be a level to watch for some intraday support today. So 109.34. Let's go to Euro Yen. If you're with me last week, I was discussing these two highs and this resistance level. Just take these lines off. This was where I was just referencing when potential support or resistance was coming in. Now, we're just rejecting the resistance level at 158. So to the day chart, it's this area through here from this weekly area over here. Well, we've been trading above it, but getting held. And we have retraced 50% of this larger range, and it's not liking it above 158. So that's really the level to watch on any retest at the moment, 158.03. You can see we've almost tested that today on the 4-hour chart. Look at the 4-hour range. It's in a downtrend. It could well be heading down to the bottom of the range down here at 154.42. So we've actually just had a 62% retracement over the last hour or two. That's the 4-hour range. So you can't go back in time and trade here. This is where you want to be looking at, where the central pivot figure just got short of that area. So that is the area to watch today. If you get a further retest in this area, that is the area to watch for selling with the most immediate intraday 4-hour trend up here. 157.93 to 158.03. Now, whether or not it'll get back up there, but that's clearly where the market, the sellers are watching. All right, and the intraday bias at the moment is most definitely to the downside. So it's just a question of get your levels in and know where price is failing. It's failing up here. Might not retest, but you can certainly watch to see whether it will come back up there today. Euro pound, very weak. I was looking for a rally back up there last week, but it's never come around. Now we've moved below 86.09. So I'm going to go to the weekly chart. So hold weekly support. So what we've actually seen, there's always a good time to trade the euro pound and not a great time. The good time was and I discussed this late last year, was looking for a rally back up to weekly, monthly resistance up here. Go and watch the YouTube recordings. You'll see me saying watch that level. And it's probably, going to come down into support, could get down to 127 extension. But at the moment, this week, so this is the weekly chart, we're getting some resistance now underneath that level, or at that level at 86.09. So that's the level to watch if we can revisit to be resistance. All right, so we did reject it yesterday. So we could just come up to 86.09, 8600 today. 4-hour downtrend, draw a fib in, across the range, look for a retracement. 62, 86.07, 2 pips below 86.09. That's the zone to watch. All right, just in there. That's where I would anticipate the sellers to be, to hold the trend to move back down. All right, so you can monitor that. That's the area we'll be watching. Had a bit of an imbalance in here yesterday where it dropped. It was holding above 86.09, then dropped down. So there's a little imbalance area in there. I'll draw it in. It's just in there. If you don't know what imbalances are, the little areas where price hasn't traded back into after the candle traded down. And I'm doing a webinar on imbalances next week, next Wednesday, so you can get the full webinar next week. All right, so that's the area to watch up there at 86.07 up to 86.09. All right, let's head over into the pound. Again, I've got a fib drawn here on my 4-hour chart from last month's low to high. And again, see how we got support last week twice in the 62% area of the range. And there was some 4-hour support here. So it does beg the question, if you go to the day chart, it does beg the question, are we going to continue up this month if we're getting support in that area at the moment, or is it just a bounce? Because of this big range here, we're just a little bit above the 62% level. Okay, might just pull that over this way. You can see the last, including today, 3 highs of these days. We can't get up to this top here, which is a weekly top. This one over here. So at the moment, I'm just watching when we get to US CPI data, does any volatility get it up to like 127.94, this area over here? I'm taking this range as the more important range rather than this range of last month, but I'm aware that that is a 62% retracement. So I am aware that we could be going up for the month, but I'm very much aware that we're holding in this 62 to 79% area of this major range. So, and I'm not sure if we actually broke that low, 26.12. Yeah, we did just trade below there. So there's the question, and that's a lower bottom coming up for a lower top up here. And last week I was discussing waiting to see if price could get up to the 79, which is not quite getting there. It's most definitely failing at the 62% level today. It's moving back below this daily top over here. So it's looking a little bit suspicious like. All right, and then it's come down, rallied back up. So then these are the big swings, the overall movements down, up, and then there's the smaller swing here. All right, so the smaller swing, we just got a little bit above the 79% level. All right. So really looking between the 62, which is at 127.33, and that's the resistance level over here, up to 127.49. That would be the area. If you think we've run down, rallied, and fighting up here, then in this area, if price can pop back in there, that's the area to look for a possibility of a short position, but stop above the top. So getting short in here, if it can pop back in, stop just above here. And then you're seeing as to whether the downtrend is going to re-unfold down, having rallied back up to range last week. All right. Now you could drop it down to 50-minute chart. Over the next 24 hours, let's say you're not quite sure yet what you want to do. If we close nicely below 127.33 today, we have a nice kind of reversal candle today, then certainly tomorrow look at 127.33 for a rally back to, for an opportunity to look for an opportunity to sell a rally. Okay. All right, that's my thoughts on the pound yen. This is how I had resistance drawn in on Thursday. And it was a beautiful failure up here. Now you could have traded my range trade method, which I've got the fib drawn across the range. You simply trade at the top of the range. So I'll take you through a couple of ways you could have entered here. Simply trade at the top of the range, which is here. Stop goes at the 127R. Targeting support. All right, now can't go back in time. If you haven't already sold up there, you probably missed the boat. Yesterday, you did have the opportunity to sell these 79% retest. Lachlan, I don't know whether you got on that. I know you sent me an email yesterday, and I know you're looking at this pair. So there was a nice little 79% retracement in here. I think it got a fraction of maybe a pip short. So it dropped, came up, could have sold around about 184, stop above the high. All right. Again, can't go back in time to do that. At the moment, I don't know whether most immediate 4-hour. I just want to find for myself the range of yesterday. That's the range of yesterday. Very nice at the 62. If it was to get back up there, back into the 62 to 79% area, or up to this high here at the 184 level, so this area, that would be the area. That's the area to watch for a short today. Now we can obviously quite clearly see that it's already shorted from that area, but you know, you don't want to be short in the bottom of the day and at the lower yesterday. So you have to go, well, okay, I've missed my opportunity at the moment to get short. If it does come back up into at or close to this area, then yes, this is the area to look for an opportunity to get short. All right. At today's low and yesterday's low, that's not where to short it, because this could just stay range bound at yesterday's low and today's low at the moment and pop back up, and you're immediately wrong. All right. So there's always got to pick the dominant trend of what the structure is, which is down at the moment, failing at the top, but then looking to sell a rally, not selling at bottoms. All right. So it's just a game of patience, waiting for this to come back up if it can today, or wait for a rally tomorrow. Okay. Based on the 4-hour range. All right, so it's looking. I'm just going to get rid of that because this is these yen pairs are looking a little bit range bound. My 4-hour chart. It's actually, let's just get rid of that. If you're not that familiar with the pound yen at the moment, just put in a bottom down here, and it's forming a top of a range up here. So then we've got this range formed at the moment. So it's failing up here. That would be your first target down at 178.62, and can that break to the downside? Or does it come down to the bottom and hold? All right, it's in a range at the moment, so there's no guarantee that it's going to break the support. You know, here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of support down here. So this is a strong area of support to look for a buy at some point this month. And this is being a strong area of resistance to be an area to sell down from at the moment. All right, Aussie yen. Now I'm actually trying to sell it up here. It's at 79.54. Well, 79.50. I've just got my order sitting there right now. I was hoping yesterday it would come up, but it hasn't. So that's trading. So we're a little bit range bound at the moment. I did discuss last week the 79% level, but I was just, because we've got the Aussie CPI data coming out, the volatility of that this week could see price action come up, maybe. You know, the big kind of picture here is this move down. We've come up and formed a little bit of a double top up here. 79% level, it's just underneath this high here. And then we're a little bit range bound, you know, in this area at the moment. Now, the volatility of the CPI data tomorrow from the Aussie could bring it up to this area. So I'm just watching to see if price can come up to this area. I'm still looking at this as failed up here, down, rally, long-term down at the moment. But I'm trying to look for an opportunity to sell it high up if it'll offer me it. Now, I may be being too optimistic. It may have just failed at the 79% level now on this smaller range, because it's come up like so. Could have failed here, and maybe that is the failure to move down and down and down. So we'll have to wait and see what the Aussie data brings tomorrow. All right, but it looks like there's a downward direction. It's just a question of what the data, does the data offer a nice, you know, opportunity to sell higher up? So that's what I'm generally looking for at the moment. Now, when the news comes out tomorrow, if all we do is come up back up to around about 97.20 tomorrow and start to hold once more, I might look to engage there. All right. Aussie dollar. This is the last month's low to high for our chart. It's another example of pulling back to 62% of last month's range. So we could move higher this month based on that. Based on the bigger picture range, though, from the monthly chart, we could have rallied from a lower bottom, and this could be the high point for a lower top to move down. So I'm looking more of the biggest structure and the fact that we're failing up here to move down. All right, we've had a nice reversal at the end of the year. Couldn't hold 68, these highs, 68.05 to 68.11, these highs in here. So depending on the data tomorrow, we could most definitely come back up to 68. I was trying to sell it at 68.50 last week and missed by like 12 pips. So we could come back up to 68 depending on the Aussie news tomorrow. So I'm just waiting really for the news to come out tomorrow and seeing if this area up here, so 68.05, 68.11 is that high there. So those are the two highs I'm watching that we false broke through here. And that is the area that I'm watching. If the volatility, we're only 100 pips away from there. So I know you could trade it up from there, but the volatility in the market tomorrow might be the thing that gets it up 100 pips. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. Can it move up into that area? At the moment, it's a little bit, it's very awkward here. We're just making a slight gain each day. A big wiki day yesterday, more weeks. So more weeks on Friday, more weeks yesterday. And we just managed to, I think, trade above yesterday's high today, but couldn't hold the high with any conviction. So it says rather range bound. Really today, there's yesterday's high. This has been the high of today just there. We are getting support at 67. You can see it coming in early today and now. So anywhere near 67, if you've got a buyer's mentality, that is the area to watch down here at the moment. You may get a revisit of this area just there. It's about 66.95 to 6,700. That's where buyer support's coming in. And that's yesterday's high. This is the Asian high, which is a fraction above there. So that's where I'll be looking in this area. That's Friday's high, yesterday's high to the current high of today. So that's where you would expect the sellers to be. And we can see that's where they came in today. All right, so this is where you want to be looking for a sell if you want to trade into this pair today. This is where you want to be looking for a buy. In between, you're just in the middle of the range, all right? So trade the outskirts. Yes, I'm looking for a higher event tomorrow if that can come around. All right, let's get into the New Zealand yen. Very similar to Aussie yen. It did manage to trade just above its little double top here on the New Zealand yen, whereas the Aussie yen hasn't. It's just failing underneath this 79% here. And it's getting pinned at this weekly top here. So this is the area. That's where you want to be selling. If we can get a revisit, that's the area you want to be selling for the possibility of that being a downward move, this being corrective, getting like a triple top across here. Are we trading long term that way? All right, so to the 4-hour chart. All right. Seeing whether price can get into this zone, if you draw a fib across this whole range, 79 cents at 90.33, 62 levels at 90.19. So looking at what price action has been doing just this week or late last week into this week, can this come up? The area to watch would be this area just here. 90.19. That's your weekly resistance level. 62% level up to the 79% level. So 90.19 to 90.33. That's the area to be watching there. All right, New Zealand dollar, very rangy at the moment. Again, I've drawn a fib from the lower last month to the high, and again, we've got support there at 62. So Euro dollar, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, they're all last week's support came in at the 62% area of last month's candle range. So is that suggesting we're going to have a month up for the candle of the month? We'll have to wait and see. But from the bigger range, go to the monthly chart, looks very much like the Aussie dollar. This is possibly forming a lower top here, came up from a lower bottom. So the actual higher time frame structure trend is down. We've rallied back up into some high areas of last year. All right. Now, of course, we could simply this year be trading up and through. But last year, end of last year, we failed just short of these highs. So are we topping up there? That's what the way I'm looking at it. Are we topping at the moment? Until proven differently, I'm looking at it as are we topping? So with that in mind, and I said this last week, I'm not trading all these US dollar pairs together. I'm just trading one of them at the moment. I'm just trying to focus on getting short the Aussie dollar because tomorrow's news may drive it up the range, but I'm not going to trade all the pairs to the US dollar because they're all kind of very much highly correlated at the moment. And if we are going to blow through the high of December on one pair, we'll probably blow through the highs on the other pairs. So, all right, so day chart, just monitoring this sell-off from late December. And I would just be watching, see if it can come up to the 79% level, which is at 63.28. So I'd monitor 63 to 63.28. So that's about that area there. What happens up there if we get there? All right. On Thursday, I was discussing this high over here at 62.73. Would it become resistance? Well, it did that day. So we might not be able to get above 62.73 with any conviction, because you can see based on this day chart here, that's Thursday's high, that's Friday's high, both got, and Wednesday's high, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all got pinned at 62.73 on the highs. So clearly the market's watching 62.73. Right, so this might just get up to 62% level and then false break all these 4-hour highs and then fall back below 60.73. So a few levels to watch there where the market can definitely fail at. It's been starting to prove that 62.73 is a harder for the buyers at the moment. So depending on what news we get later in the week from the US, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm always just looking at the 79% areas. So I would much prefer this to get some kind of news volatility up into this area. Can we sell up there for a move back below 62.73? All right. Dollar Canadian, this is how I've been mapping it out. I think we, on Friday, went up before we went down. So looking for some form of, it's a bit difficult with it. We had an outside day there, so it's a little bit difficult at the moment. Looking for some form of a higher bottom to form here to confirm that maybe we're putting a bottom in here. At the moment, clearly we can see the last two trading days, we can't get above this area, which is a weekly low. So the weekly trend's down to a lower bottom. The monthly trend is actually up, higher top. This looks very similar to, left shoulder, head, inverse head, right shoulder is forming, like the dollar index I was discussing before. So I'm asking the question, are we bottoming down here? Is it an inverse head and shoulder pattern to at least come back up to test the highs? At the moment, weekly resistance is just holding us here at the moment. All right, so let's look at the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart, you could monitor this range. Can we pull back into the 62.79% zone? Do you see on a lower time frame a reversal in that zone to trade up? Okay. Dollar franc still remaining underneath the major level of broken monthly support here. Tested it twice last week. I did say on Thursday. We tested it on Wednesday. Let me just go with days right. That's Friday. Friday, that was Thursday. I said watch it on Thursday. We tested it on Wednesday. You can see, try to trade above, but it's getting held at 85.52. That's clear resistance at the moment from the monthly chart. That low just here. So out of the pairs, that's got US dollar in. This is the strongest of the non-US currency side. So US dollar versus franc, the franc's the strongest by far. It's not really showing a reversal of any strength. Weekly trend is down. It's getting held below broken weekly support there. Monthly support. All right, now it could form a higher bottom with an outside day here. So if we do trade above this high, we're going to get a higher bottom. If that occurs, well, you've got two options at the moment. Are you bullish or bearish? If you're bearish, you still want to look for a retest of 85.52. That's clear resistance to trade down from. If you're bullish, you want to see a break above here, and then that to be support on any test to trade up off. Okay, so you just need a monitor to see how price starts to form through the week. Now, we may not come up for an actual test of 85.52, or we could, or get very close. You could draw a fib. That's sell off down. You could be looking at, well, 79 pretty much overlaps with the resistance level. So there's a clear seller's level. If the market can get up there. Proved twice last week to hold. So it could actually form some form of head and shoulder pattern here. All right, that pattern could form over the week. So watching pretty much 85.50, 85.52. That's the sell. What's the sell zone there for head and shoulder pattern? Okay. All right, dollar yen. It's getting held at weekly resistance here. So we have traded down into a downtrend on the weekly chart. For, is this a double top on the major scale? Lower bottom, starting to get held here at these weekly old support levels. Now this could form a higher bottom to move up. It's definitely a higher top. So this is the area to watch. I'd be a lot happy if it had a much higher rally, but it'll do whatever it wants to do. Market's always right. This is the area that it's struggling at. 144.43, 145.06. So already starting to prove this week that 144.43 wants to be resistance. See, trading through here. Just want to not tell a lie. Yep, that was yesterday's trading through here. So in actual fact, there's a small 4-hour range here that we're rallying within, and it can't get up to there. So we actually might be failing just short of the 79, but it would be worth watching today. At any point through the course of the day, there's the 4-hour range that we're trading back up within. We're getting held at the central pivot point twice today. But a great area would be up here at 144.40 to 43, if it can get up there. Maybe it can't. Maybe it's already topped out here. You could certainly watch for another rally back up to here today. And central pivot points held there twice today, so that's where the sellers are. All right, if we trade down, if we don't rally back up to a high level that you'd like to sell at, if we trade down today, you want to start to watch 144 tomorrow as where the sellers are going to start to come in for some form of intraday lower top tomorrow. Okay. All right, I'll just finish on gold. I wasn't able to get up to a rally point that I was watching on Thursday. Got reasonably close, but didn't get there. So starting to see a couple of minor lower tops forming here in the day chart, failing at the major area of resistance. So, and a lower top forming on the weekly chart. So quite clearly, the market, whilst we're trading through there, does not want to exist above there. We're nearly back down to, so we're failing at monthly, weekly resistance. We're almost back down to weekly support. So the trade would be at the moment is what happens at 2009, weekly support. Because this could just come back down to 2009 and then trade straight back up to resistance and just stay relatively range bound. So it's a 4-hour chart. Actually, maybe starting to change trend back up there at the moment. So 2009 though is when we have some news coming out this week. Well, two areas to watch. 2009 is weekly support. And strong resistance level is quite clearly 2070. You could say 2070 to 2079. That's the monthly resistance area. So those are the zones at the moment where the market's getting held up or down from. You see this for our bottom here. When we move back above here, we put in a low here. And this low coming in here is fractionally above there. So quite clear the buyers are watching that low to weekly support. All right. So that's the outskirts of gold at the moment. It's a little bit range bound. It is a little bit more negative on the daily. It's putting in two minor lower tops. It is putting in a lower top on the weekly chart as well. So at major resistance. So, is it? Let's go back to the day chart a moment. There's the last minor lower top. So really want to monitor this range for a fib level tracement. 7% levels at 2053. That coincides with just below these lows, these area of lows here. All right, so that's if we're going to hold within the little day chart range, that's the area to watch for a rally back to. We're going to hold in between the weekly support and resistance then. That's weekly support, and that's the weekly, monthly resistance area up here. Okay, so those are the areas to watch there on gold. All right, so that's my thoughts on the market at the moment. Could well be relatively range bound till we get into Thursday's news from the US. We do have the Aussie CPI data tomorrow, so we may see some fireworks on the Aussie crosses. As I said, I'm looking at the high areas to see if we can get a bit of a volatility spike up. Patrick saying, what is the recommended stop loss if you short dollar franc at 85.52? Oh, depending on how you want to scale your risk reward, and do you want a short stop or a large stop? Would be the question. How do you trade? For me, if it was a positional play, I'd just be shorting at 80. Using this 4-hour range, if I was doing a positional play, I'd be shorting at 85.52. I'd use a 100 pip stop, 86.52. If I wanted a tighter stop, then I would be shorting at 85.52. Stop just goes above last week's high. Because really, if you're wanting this area to really hold with no wiggle room, you want a price to come into there, hold, put in some form of lower top trade down. So that if we're looking at this head and shoulder pattern I was discussing, really then you just need to put your stop above here. Whether it's 1 pip plus a spread or you go like 10 pips above. All right. That should give you plenty of ideas. So that high there is at 85.76. So you wouldn't need to, 10 pips above there, 85.86. You know, if you're 10 bits above that high, do you still want to be in? If I was doing a long-term positional play, though, I would be selling at 85.52 and putting my stop 100 pips above and giving this area some wiggle room. Depends how you want to attack it and what your approach is. Okay. All right, that's all for me then today. Tomorrow, I'm going to be going through order blocks, part 2 of the smart money concepts. That's 8 p.m. tomorrow Sydney time. If you have the time, you want to learn about order blocks, then I look forward to seeing you then. Other than that, everybody, thanks very much for joining me this evening. Hopefully you got some value from that and got some levels you can start to watch, some patterns you can be watching through the week. Other than that, have a great day. Have a great rest of the week. If I don't see you, if I do see you, I'll look forward to catching up again tomorrow maybe. All right, thanks everybody.